Hello, everyone, and welcome to Earp Sister Feels, episode number 12. My name is Kevin Batchelder, and on this video, I'm going to be discussing the Wynonna Earp episode, Let's Pretend We're Strangers, episode 205. Welcome back, folks. Great to have so many of you here checking out the videos and enjoying them based on the comments you're leaving, which is wonderful. Those of you that have been along for the ride the whole time, that's wonderful. See so many familiar faces there, and it's great to see some new folks making mention of it. So all of you, I really appreciate you checking these out. It's a lot of fun doing these. Now, if you do happen to be someone who's new or hasn't been on social media much, I do want to make sure everyone is aware of our fight for Wynonna. If you are not, for some reason you're just finding out about this as I mention it, please stop this video right now. Go to fightforwynonna.com to come up to speed on the jeopardy that our show is in right now, potentially not moving forward. So we want to make sure we have everyone involved in this fight. So yes, if you are new, by all means, check that out right away. And again, I'm very serious. Stop right now and go check that out. It's that important. But for those who are aware, thank you for those who've been very involved. It certainly is going to take all of us working hard to make sure that we keep our show on the air. But for these videos, if you are new too, as you know, I enjoy recording these comments, but I also love getting them from the community. So for the first couple of days that this is out on social media, you'll notice that down below there is a button that says record a reply. So you can leave your video comments for this episode or this video, general or specific, they're fine. And then I can include them when I post the final result up on YouTube with my comments and everyone else's as well. So you just tap that record a reply. You don't need a special app. You can do it right from your smartphone. You can record it, then play it back, make sure you're comfortable, and then save and send it to me. Makes for a lot of fun. And certainly this episode has got some big stuff to talk about. Now, in this particular episode, there are only a couple of Earp Sister scenes, but there is the huge one at the end. So rather than me packaging this up with another ep, because there wasn't a ton in this one, it's just too important. I want to make sure to do it separately as far as the justice for it. In that sense, because the next one is a huge one as well. Probably I'll even get more emotional on that next one. I don't know about you, but along with the content of the episode, there was some other things that kind of were a part of that. But I'll save that story for next time. But for this episode, we get the beginning that has been gifted and quoted so much here, basically the rat smoothie scene. Melanie does such a great job playing Wynonna and just enjoying the evilness of torturing poor Waverly. She just plays it so well, makes us all so concerned for Waverly, and it just seems to be enjoying herself so much as Wynonna. I mean, right down to her great ad-lib line, trying to give her the smoothie. If you're not vegan, are you? So well done and so much on character there too. But it was also great watching the part when she's really getting up in Waverly's face, when Wynonna actually is able to break free for just a couple of seconds to let her know that she's fighting and doing her best. That really tugged at the heartstrings and reminded Waverly that Wynonna is still in there. So very well done scene. So many gifts of the good morning and everything else there. Wow, big stuff. The next time we have them together, actually it's in the jail cell back at BBD. We got a couple of different important things that are happening in the times they're together there. One of them is the funny comment, the ginger Pop-Tart mention from Wynonna. That certainly brought us smiles and has come up quite a bit in fandom. But also the other important thing that's here, and it's going to play out in the episode, is realizing how smart Waverly is. Because, she's smart enough to realize that taking Miction back herself is the better way to do it, because it gives Wynonna the chance to save her. So she has that trust to be able to do it, and also the smarts of realizing, who's better equipped to deal with this. Sometimes lost a little bit if you're not thinking about it from a story point of view, but very important here. We then lead up to a couple of scenes near the very end of the episode. The first one is the big one in the barn with Nicole there trying to protect Waverly as, she is making like it's Wynonna that's the problem. So some big stuff there. And along with great job in terms of the tension and the back and forth, it's also showing how much humor is a big part of this entire show, and certainly in this episode, as when Wynonna and Waverly are trying to figure out how to get it out, when Waverly's the one who brings up the whole, hey, remember what you did with the grape soda when I was a kid, making it come out my nose, and all that. I mean, so that is just, again, her being smart, but also us getting to have a little bit of a chuckle in a tight, intense situation. And also the very emotional, certainly for me, and powerful bit about Waverly talking about, I knew you'd rescue me. You know, the trust between the two of them, the love that certainly comes through in doing that and being able to risk herself, knowing that Wynonna would find a way to save her. You know, can't underscore how important that is in this relationship and how much it means. And then, of course, we have the final scene. This one is only 90 seconds long. Yes, I looked at the time codes, folks. It certainly feels like it's much longer in terms of the emotional impact of it. But with Waverly talking about, you know, when Mixon jumped back in her and it telling her something, and then the pregnancy test to give to her. Wow. I mean, from the look on the faces, certainly Mel and her faces, how she's able to convey emotion. Same way with Dom in terms of protecting her. The beautiful visuals as it plays out, the two of them on the opposite sides of the door. I mean, along with the acting and the portrayals and the dialogue and the visuals, my goodness, what an impact this is. You know, Waverly saying that she's here for you. You know, I'm here for you, idea, now and forever. You're not alone, you know, and, you know, Wynonna kind of taking it as, yeah, you know, as I look at the positive result, I know I'm not alone, but meaning it in a much bigger sense. I mean, wow, wow, wow. You know, I think as many of you know, if you've been along with us on this Wynonna Earp journey for a while, Bridget and Bonnie and I were very blessed to be able to do our set visit in season 2. So we had seen Mel and knew months ahead of when this episode aired that she was pregnant and it was going to be written in. So, but we didn't know exactly how. So it was just amazing to actually watch it play out and to see the impact that it had and knowing what this is going to lead to the rest of the season, certainly. It's a cornerstone moment in the fandom and in this show and means so much to so many folks. So I'm really looking forward to getting some thoughts from hopefully many of you. Love to get them in video form, as I always say. But even if it's just a reply on Twitter or Facebook, again, the community aspect of me doing these videos is why I'm doing them. Aside from a fun rewatch during our hiatus, I really enjoy interacting with all of you. So, you know, please do share those thoughts. And as I teased a little earlier, the next episode emotionally is going to be a big one for me. Along with what it is in the show, but also some other stuff related to that, which I'll talk on if you haven't heard. So, having a blast doing these. Again, can't underscore the importance of fightforwynonna.com. If you're not aware or haven't seen it, please do go there. Check it regularly. We need each and every Earper involved if we're going to turn this around and get our show back on track. So, you know, enjoy the videos, have some fun there, but also stay on point as we do, as Earpers do, and make sure that our show is protected. All right, folks, I really appreciate you checking in. It's been a blast. I'll be back with another one soon, and I hope you all take care.
Hey, everyone. Just wanted to jump in and give my quick comments about this episode. I'm going to try and keep them brief because I feel like I could talk about this episode for hours. Like Kevin said in his comments, I think trust is a very important part of this episode, and I think it's definitely an overarching theme from the very beginning where you see Waverly trying to, you know, get Wynonna to come out of the demon to come out of Wynonna and for her to break free from it and, you know, take control. And I think there's this level between these two that has really developed that's amazing, is that, yes, they're both different, but at the same time, they trust each other and they have faith that each of them is strong enough to come out of these types of situations. And you really see it in this episode, even though they're not together for most of the episode, you still see that, that trust and bond that they have throughout the episode. Obviously, one of those big moments of trust is when Waverly takes the demon back into herself in the jail cell scene, from Wynonna. And she kind of, you know, she realizes that she herself is not going to be able to convince Wynonna to get out of, or the demon to get out of Wynonna, but Wynonna could like find a way essentially to get rid of this demon. And I think that's an amazing amount of trust that she puts in her sister. And it's very smart on Waverly's point, to be able to come up with some sort of idea like that. And then again, you see it in the barn scene with Nicole and everything, that Wynonna really puts that trust in Waverly of trying to talk her out of it and trying to get her to come back to her. And, you know, this sister bond that is amazing between these two, and the scenes are incredible. And I would not be able to talk about this episode without talking about what is considered my favorite Earp sister scene of all time, the door scene. What I love, besides just the way the film is, or the scene is shot, is that the two of them have such amazing ability, Dom and Mel, to really make you feel in that scene. It's incredible. Whether it's Dom saying and Waverly saying the line of, I'm here, essentially, I'm here for you, Wynonna, through whatever we have to go through for this. It's incredible. And how I just love the director's choice of the shot. I went to film school, and that is like my dream scene to shoot. Is something like that where you can see both of them on either side of the door, and you're in the middle of the. It's just incredibly emotional, and they give it their all in that scene, and it's just so powerful. So anyways, I wanted to keep it brief, but I wanted to also say a big shout out to Bridget, Kevin, and Bonnie for their amazing work with Fight for Wynonna and keeping us all updated. It's incredible. As well as, the New York Earpers out there in the cold, taking pictures for people like me who aren't in New York and can't see the billboards in person. So it's incredible. And I can't wait to keep up this marathon. All right.
Everyone, Jill here, Ned Lee's office. Let's talk about Let's Pretend We're Strangers. So Kevin did a fantastic job covering so many of the wonderful moments in the episode, and as he mentioned, the Earp sisters actually weren't together that many times or for much time on screen, but yeah, they had some really powerful things go on. So I just want to, Wynonna was such a tour de force, and Melanie was so fantastic as Wynonna, completely letting loose. She cracks me up every time I watch it when she says you're not a vegan, and then she has this little chuckle that she does, and again, it makes me chuckle every time as well. And similarly, when she's being dragged into the cells by Dolls and Doc, and is screaming and flailing and telling Waverly she's gonna rain hellfire down on her, and then she gives this sweet little smile and a chuckle, and off he goes into the cell. And that cracks me up every time, as does Waverly's little rejoinder of, I said I was sorry, which again is just a little bit of humor, the juxtapose of Wynonna just bringing full demon, and poor little Waverly just sitting there like, yeah, I said I was sorry. And it's sort of like the both of them amped up a lot, and I think it was just a fantastic little scene there. So I also, in terms of Wynonna, one thing that I did find also very interesting and very telling for the Earp sisters, and part of the relationship is it was kind of clear, and they sort of spelled this out, that Waverly was able to fight Mixtion better than Wynonna was. But the times that Wynonna was able to break through and was able to combat Mixtion was, one, when she was about to harm Waverly. Wynonna was strong enough to fight Mixtion then. She just could not bring herself to harm Waverly. And then, interestingly, the other time was when she was insulting Nicole in regards to Waverly. She was hurting the woman that she knows Waverly loves. And that was the second, really the only other time that Wynonna was able to break through Mixtion, and when she scrawled out that possessed on the notepad. So I think that's telling of where Wynonna fights the hardest is obviously when it's in regards to Waverly. And by extension, Nicole, which I think is very sweet. So, I think, the jail cell scene obviously was fantastic, and as Kevin mentioned, it was, Waverly putting her trust in Wynonna. She knows that this isn't something she can win. She can't beat Mixtion. Wynonna can. She trusts Wynonna to get that done and puts herself in peril. I don't think they ever explore it, but it would be interesting to know I sort of feel like I'm just thinking about this now, like maybe if we heard the conversation, Wynonna would again, sort of like when Waverly threw the skull against the barn, she would tell Waverly, yeah, that was brave. It was stupid, but it was brave. And I can, now I'm just that's gonna be my headcanon. They have a conversation like that. I think another scene I wanted to bring up that wasn't the two of them together, but again, it shows Wynonna's feelings about Waverly and how protective she is of her, is when she was trying to go into the barn and Renaissance Fair wasn't letting her go in, and he said that Waverly was going to be collateral damage. And, Wynonna just reached back and was ready to cold cock him. And it's reminiscent of when she actually did hit Dolls in the very first episode. Dolls said of Waverly, she's already dead, and Wynonna socked him. And she does not take kindly to people saying that Waverly is either already dead or is going to die, and we shouldn't even try saving her. That's just not an option in Wynonna's playbook. And the last scene, I'm going to talk about the last scene in the next time we talk about this, because one, I'm running out of time. Two, I just have a lot to say about that scene. But more in regards as to how it relates to the next episode. So the last thing I will say is the scene of Wynonna taunting Nicole. The first time she comes in there, she's like adjusting her bra and wondering why it's so tight. And every time I go back and watch that again, it's literally like Emily Andros is screaming at us, by the way, Melanie's pregnant. But in my head, when she was adjusting her bra, I was like, so this demon likes shiny things and makes people's boobs grow? Like, what kind of a demon is this? What's going on? So it's fun to go back and realize still how badly we were fooled, or at least how badly I was fooled or clueless. And again, kudos and hats off to Melanie and Emily and everybody involved that kept that secret. So yeah, that's what I have to say about this episode. Lastly, I'll just say, still keep fighting for Wynonna. This is not a show that obviously any of us want to let go, and we won't let go. Kind of like Wynonna won't let go of Waverly. We just got to keep fighting and not accept that it's dead because it's not dead, and just got to keep fighting, keep tweeting, keep sending email, keep up the good fight. All right, see you guys next time. Bye.
All right, season 2, episode 5 has a lot of feelings to unpack between our good old Earp sisters. Not a lot of scenes together in this episode until the very end, which is just like all of the feelings. But it is, the beginning part of this episode is like beautifully bookended by the previous 2 episodes and the end of this one to sort of show like essentially character growth. So we have Wynonna at the beginning of the episode, who is impatient and rash and a little wild. And outside of that, in the previous 2 episodes and this one, she, especially towards Waverly, well, pretty much only towards Waverly, it's a feeling that we don't really see with Wynonna and any other character. She is patient and warm and is expressive of her feelings. And we get that at the end of the episode, after we get like ass-kicking, holy water swilling Wynonna with the order. She comes into the barn and she's like entirely different. Her, like, even the way that Mel uses her voice is different, her facial expressions are different, and there's like this mix of like desperation and pleading that we literally only get with her and Waverly. And I think I talked about it at the end of season 1 when Willow was around, just like the different ways that Wynonna and Waverly had previously like hidden their feelings, and how Willa sort of like made all of it come to a head. And for Wynonna, it is all about vulnerability, because she will be sarcastic as a way to get out of pretty much feeling anything. And we see, especially in like 3, 4, and 5 of this season, she is just like totally
like true and honest and raw with Waverly, which is huge. And then for Waverly, it is like her issues are like an entire bag of trust issues. And everything that she did at the beginning of the episode, she, like taking Miction back from Wynonna, and like different, other decisions that she has made are pretty much like all because she trusts Wynonna. And she, she risks her life solely at the name of trusting her sister, essentially, to save everyone. And it is just like a huge episode of character growth for the both of them. And then we get like the final scene, like the pregnancy reveal, and it is all very raw and very delicate. But there is a moment where Wynonna, she mentions, like, in a moment of quiet, like, oh, now you know all my secrets. And she like swallows hard, and like in that moment, because again, it's that like vulnerability, because she does have secrets from her sister, and there's still this thing that it isn't like, she's not like totally healed, or they're not totally all together. And I think that is like a really beautiful truth between siblings to have. And I think that scene was particularly poignant in that way, that we get the big heroic moment, but then we still have like a real feeling behind it, and we sort of have a real moment between them that has nothing to do with demons or supernatural things. It's just two sisters. And that was pretty powerful, and we get to have lots of moments upcoming, which is great. So as always, thank you, Kevin, for having these videos, especially during our fight for Wynonna. And your hard work with Bonnie and Bridget is not unnoticed and is not taken for granted, and I appreciate the heck out of you. So we will see you again.
Hey guys, we got another Earp Sister Feels video on episode 5, season 2. So with the first scene with the Earp sisters, it was so hard to watch when Wynonna, for a brief moment, pushes through Miction's control and is breaking down and telling Waverly that it hurts, and she's trying. And Waverly is just doing everything she can to encourage her sister and like beam love and supportive energy to Wynonna's soul, even though Wynonna is possessed at this point and Waverly is tied up. But it's also such a beautiful and vulnerable scene between the two of them. And I really love how everything gets so quiet and their voices get really soft. And even though it's literally only the two of them in the kitchen, they start talking to each other like the whole world outside of them, the whole world outside and around them has stopped, and it's just them and their hearts and souls speaking to each other inside this little Earp sister bubble. And it's just a lovely moment. It gets me every single time. And I just think Mel and Dom do such a beautiful job with portraying all of that emotion in their eyes and their facial expressions and their voices. It's just a great scene. And then the other scene in the jail cell, and correct me if I'm wrong, so if anyone knows the actual, if there's any truth to this, please put it in the comments. But I think this is the second time that someone else has alluded to Waverly having a darkness inside of her. The first time that I can remember is Bobo, when he's in the interrogation room and he's telling her that there is like a depth to the darkness that she hasn't really explored. And then here in this scene, we have Wynonna as Miction telling Waverly that she has dark corners that she hasn't explored, yet. And I just think it's such a great contrast to the light that we see Waverly associated with in the later seasons. Not to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it for new viewers. But yeah, I just thought that was such a nice contrast. And then we have the barn scene where one of my favorite lines from this episode, when Wynonna tells Nicole, "You are not my sister's keeper." And in the scene, Waverly's surrounded by the two women in her life that love her the most and who she loves the most. And we see this combination or juxtaposition, if you will, of romantic love and platonic / familial love. And once again, we see that as much as Way Hot is endgame, this show is solidifying the fact that the sister relationship is a primary love story of the series. And at least to me, it's like, even though Way Hot is the heart, the Earp sisters are the soul. So it's just really, really nice to see Waverly surrounded by these two forces of love that kind of have to come together to protect her and save her. And then, of course, we have the final scene at the end with Wynonna and Waverly, where Wynonna finds out that she's pregnant. And it's just really great to see the two of them being open and vulnerable with each other, through no intention of Wynonna's, because she did know this information. But it was just really nice to see them coming together and, seeing this huge shift that is on the horizon, just knowing that they are there together and they have each other's back. They have each other's backs and they're going to support each other. It's just really, really great to see that coming together. So that's all I got. I'll see you guys later.
Okay, episode 5. So I know I probably say this all the time, that one of my favorite Earp Sister scenes is in this episode, but for real, this is probably in one of my top 5 favorite scenes. And this episode in general just has so many of my favorite gifs. Melanie Scrofano's acting and Dom's just in the entire episode, but Wynonna, like, so funny, just really great. And I think, like the series in general, the Earp Sisters relationship is totally the backbone of the series, but this episode, especially, because I feel like if they didn't know each other as well as they did, and if, like, they weren't able to work together as sisters or trust one another in the way that they did as well, it wouldn't have worked out for the better for them. And the reason it all did is because of that relationship that they do have. Like, one of the things that I love is when Waverly does make the grape soda comment to Wynonna about, like, like, it's an inside joke, or a memory that only probably the two of them would know what she was talking about. So I just think little things like that are so well written, but also so well portrayed by them. And you can just tell that their chemistry on screen is just amazing, and it makes perfect sense. And I think that's probably why we love and identify with them so much. But their chemistry in the scene at the end of the episode, I call this the door scene, and like I said, it's probably in my top 5. And I think part of it is, like, their relationship and just being vulnerable with each other, and not even being face to face, but also just the cinematography within that scene, and capturing both of their emotions as they're talking, but not towards one another. Like, they're not able to see each other's emotions in that conversation, which I think is really cool, and you just know that it's really genuine. And my favorite line is definitely, "I'm here for you now and forever," and when Waverly tells Wynonna that she's not alone. And I just love that this is, I know, like Kevin said, next episode is gonna hit me even harder, because I feel like it plays off of this one so well, this end scene. But I just think it's so beautifully shot, and you could just feel the intense emotions within the scene. And then also, I mean, obviously, I think Andrea Higgins is amazing at her job, but the song that plays at the end, Dig Down Deep, I think, like, in that moment, that song choice and the way the scene is shot, the emotions, the way it's written, the way they act it out, like, it's just so beautiful. And it's just one of my favorite scenes, for sure. I love it so much. And then also just, like, the excitement around this whole episode of, like, the choice to really play into Mel's real-life pregnancy and use it in the show. Like, I was just so surprised, but also, like, I admired the decision so much. And actually, like, as I've gone back and rewatched it, my sister, I now have a 6-month-old niece, and my little sister and I are best friends. And so, like, rewatching this and her watching this season for the first time, and just all of those emotions added with that, and just, like, being there for her as well, like, from that perspective, like, that bond of sisters within that process as well, and that huge, like, life change, I think is just so huge. And the way they do that on the screen the rest of this entire season, and with the go forward, the writing and Mel and Dom's acting is just phenomenal. So I love it.